About roughly how many hours do you guys put in every day on Joe Montana football?
So this is another unique thing about us is, we are a startup. So we are, we do 100-hour weeks. I mean, more, we work on Saturdays, we work on Sundays. I mean, we exhaust ourselves because, we're not a 9 to 5, right? We don't come in, we're not a large corporation, we are all about, we move extremely fast. And we put in a tremendous amount of time as any other Silicon Valley startup would. So we have different, as my career went on, I just realized the time you have to put in to get from like 0 to 1 is just a tremendous amount.
Wow.
So we work really hard, and we work under the methodology of like being a startup. And again, that's culture, that's everything else. There are crunch times, obviously, in the gaming industry, and it's actually a little bit worse for a gaming startup because you experience crunch, which is the worst thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you actually experience your startup life, which is even crazier, right? So gaming startups, I always feel for because they're under so much pressure than, let's say, a messaging app or or an enterprise software company or whatever, right? So, because usually their crunch time happens when they're trying to present in front of a client, or trying to do some launch window, coinciding with some sort of outside event. For us, it's like literally, hey, our new milestone needs to get done, so we need to crunch for the next 2 weeks. I'm sorry, no one can leave the office, right? Like sleep here, right? So we put in an insane amount of time, and we'll continue to do so until the product comes out. And even after that, because what allows us to be on devices, what allows us to be is an iterative company, right? So changes can happen so quickly. I think I alluded to before, like we started hearing people saying, okay, we love the customization, but I want to customize my own camera, right? Like that would be awesome. And we're just like, you know what, we can totally do that, right? And we don't have to wait for, we're not this large lumbering, billion-dollar organism that just feeds on itself, right? Like we can implement, I can just go over to the engineers right now and say, hey, implement, edit camera, right? And allow this UI to flow this way and do it this way, right? And we're just like, okay, we put it in, right?
Right.
So it's a lot easier. I think I wanted to say we're able to get things right now and build a foundation for the future. Right?
Excellent.
So yeah, and that's why community feedback for us is going to be so much more important.
Very
because
paramount.
We can actually make those changes, test those changes through you guys, and if you like it, you're like, dude, this is the best thing. We haven't seen this in football yet. Right. We're like, okay, this is a good foundational thing that will make one of our pillars. And from there, when we get into the other platforms and bigger things, that'll be there, and that'll be one of the reasons that you love the product so much.
Right, exactly. Great answer. Okay. For the series Joe Montana Football, how do you feel about Indiegogo or Kickstarter? Now, the reason why I ask this is because there's a decent market space for this game for consoles. We all wanted this game at our homes, playing with our controllers and sharing rosters, mainly because the lack of competition and the negative effect that comes with it. I personally know people that would donate to guarantee this game for consoles using Unreal Engine 4, to the best of its ability, with the inspiration of NFL 2K5. Will taking this route and the mobile route at the same time be beneficial? Is there a way that we could get this game to PC and consoles faster?
Great question. Obviously, what's great about today is a passionate group that can vote with their dollars to something that doesn't even exist yet, and that's a pretty powerful. Crowdfunding is very, very powerful. We looked at it early, but at the same time, we decided that it just wasn't for us. We decided that, we didn't expect the huge demand. We wonder, you look at things and you go, Star Citizen, wow, like $75 million, right? You're
right.
Like, wow, really? Like this is really amazing. And you take a look at it and you're like, man, it's possible to do this. Is it big enough market? Because there's just as many passionate football fans, gamers as there are space opera fans, right?
Right.
And they focused on PC. They're like, PC is not dead, right? Like you could have done the whole thing. And I mean, honestly, we could have started a revolution. I mean, we probably, like, we feel that now in hindsight. Maybe a revolution could have been started where people were just like, I'm sick and tired of not having the power to change anything, right? And you can vote with your dollars. So, I mean, we looked at it, but when we looked at the overall business, we said to ourselves, if we, again, we looked at this as a marathon, not a sprint. So we said, if we make the right moves early, even on devices, we're gonna be able to build a much more solid foundation of design, features, philosophy, culture, everything. We're gonna be able to build it a lot faster. And then going the Star Citizen route and saying, okay, well, let's just raise $70 million, which who knows what we would have been able to accomplish. And yeah, I mean, who knows? And then it's like, okay, well, where's the game? And so it's going to take, that type of process will take, 3 years to accomplish what everyone wants to accomplish. It would still have taken a tremendous amount of time. So we said, well, why don't we just get this done as fast as possible and make it to the quality that we really want to. And then potentially, if it's so good and people are like, this is it. You guys must bring this to the consoles. You must do it right now. And I don't care if you do whatever crowdfunding you want to do, it's just over. But we want to get the product out first. We want to build that foundation first, those pillars of success for us, right? We call them KPIs, key indicators. So key point indicators, but if we're able to do that, right, and just build from a grassroots sort of approach, I think that it just made more sense for us, I guess. But we're really appreciative that people are like, do this right now, put it on crowdfunding, we're in, Indiegogo and Kickstarter, we don't care. Or I guess you were talking about earlier, there's some petitions out there.
Right.
It's just like awesome, right? But at the same time, when we developed our plan, it was very apparent to us that if we deviated any way from that, I think that it would have been sort of detrimental to the sort of future of what football gaming could potentially be with other competitors.
Right.
I don't know. I guess it's hard to explain because there's only one other person doing it, right? So there's only one other thing. So, how do you break into a market that's dominated, right? So, but at the same time, like, you don't fault them because every company should be doing exactly what other, what a company should be doing.
Right.
So in the end, like, we started saying, it's like, well, where could we actually compete the best in? And maybe that just goes to my own flaws. I mean, as a person, as a developer, and as the CEO of a game studio, my abilities here are really, really good, and I can accelerate it really fast, and then build over time with my community, with the guys, with the culture, with everything else, and over time we can get in a position of dominance. And I see this. You always say the cliche thing like, well, it's a marathon, not a sprint. But how do you how do you bring something that was super powerful in the past, and then how do you bring something and not fail? I guess you could say, right?
Right.
Where it would be detrimental to anyone ever showing up ever again.
Right. Good.
And
that's a very deep answer.